Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the SRU podcast with me and my guy, Will Royal. How you doing today, Will?
I was doing better until I saw what happened with my quarterback Tua.
Yeah.
Not just fantasy wise, but the Alabama connection. Met him while we were both at Bama. It was hard seeing him go down, and so in honor of that, tonight's guest picker is the staff of the Dolphins who told him not to play this game.
Yeah.
Because
they definitely should have.
He had this injury last week, and should have sat out big, and now he's probably going to be done for the season.
Yeah, they definitely should have sat him out after he was a little shaken up after one of the sack. Was it a sack or was it just a hit?
Yeah, I think it was a sack.
After
last week's game against Buffalo. But this is not an NFL podcast. This is a college podcast.
Yeah, we got a great week 5 coming up. A lot of ranked games coming up. Big games that could kind of decide the future of each conference, in my opinion. But you have the first game. So what we got for this week?
So first up on our slate of pick'ems, we have the 10th ranked NC State Wolfpack taking on Clemson Tigers, ranked 5 in the country. Now this is where College Game Day is coming to, tomorrow when episode comes out. But these are two top 10 teams possibly fighting for that ACC bid for the playoffs. And we have two really solid quarterbacks. We have DJ Uiagalelei. Sure, I butchered that, but he's been butchering it all year.
Yeah.
Putting up really good numbers. He's 83 for 129, just over 1,000 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's not really counting rushing yards. And you have Devin Leary, who's been kind of the dark horse in terms of quarterbacks. 80 for 125, 890 yards, 9 touchdowns, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Clemson came off a very slim win last week over Wake Forest. That was a double overtime win. NC State coming off a more easy win against UConn. Clemson comes into this hosting at Death Valley, prime time as a 7-point favorite.
Yeah.
And so I'm taking Clemson. I think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout, but I think Clemson, they're a pretty commanding lead in the first quarter. It will kind of bounce back in the second and third, and then by the fourth, NC State will be too tired out, and Clemson will take over. I think DJ is going to have a good game. Bo Collins is going to go off. Will Shipley's been a really good running back for Clemson, and I just think Clemson gets the job done.
Honestly, for me, I think it's going to be a similar game to last game. Probably not a double overtime game for Clemson. DJ has looked better this year. Last game, he looked amazing. He looked like the DJ everyone thought he would be this year. And Devin Leary has done a great job managing the NC State team that a lot of people were really high on at the beginning of the year. They kind of fell off a little bit, like at the beginning of the year, but they are undefeated. They had a close game against East Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But we're ready to see the NC State everyone's been talking about basically all year. But I am going to take Clemson this game. I feel like Clemson is going to win the ACC. I wouldn't say easily, but they will win it in my eyes. And a lot of the big teams in the ACC have been falling off, like Miami. Everyone had Miami pretty high at the beginning of the year, and they just lost to Middle Tennessee State.
Right.
Yeah, so Clemson, their defense did show up at the end of the game in double overtime when they got to Sam Hartman a few times, blocked the pass. So, yeah, Clemson's defense is showing up, and all DJ has to do is just give it to the playmakers, like Will Shipley. He's been playing really good and running the ball. So, I'm going to take Clemson this one. I don't think it was that hard for me to pick this game for a winner, and Clemson's my guy.
Yeah. You want to take over the next game?
Yeah, our next game is number 22 Wake Forest at number 23 Florida State, a closer ACC game. This game is at 2:30 Central Time on ABC. I have to talk about my guy, Will. My Heisman candidate this year. I would say he's more of a dark horse because he didn't play the first two games.
Yeah.
Yeah, first two games, but he is putting up numbers. He already has 962 yards. He's 64 for 100, 13 touchdowns with two interceptions. But he's playing a real good dual threat QB in Jordan Travis, who's 60 for 91, 45 yards, my bad, with five touchdowns and one interceptions. FSU did just come off a win to Boston College, a pretty easy win, 44-14. They are coming into this game a 6.5 point favorite to Wake Forest, but I feel like Wake Forest have something to prove. They just lost a double overtime to the number 5 team in the country, so this game is kind of hard for me to pick. And honestly, I'm gonna go with Florida State just because they have the athletes and they have the recruits that a big school like Florida State would have, and they've actually looked really good this year. This is going to be a good game, and it's at a slot where most of the big games are going to be on this week. So FSU is going to be my pick for this game, but I would not count out Wake Forest after what happened last week.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm also going to take Florida State. I think Jordan Travis has been, building up that resume that we've all kind of expected him to do at Florida State. And this was a Florida State team coming into the season of this is all or nothing. If this can pan out or if we're off to a slow start, Mike Norvell is most likely to get fired. He's on their program around at least this season, and he's now the last undefeated team in the state of Florida, which is crazy to think of when you have Florida, Florida State, UCF, all those big programs. I'm not discrediting Wake Forest at all. I think Sam Hartman, like you said, is a really good quarterback. Definitely we saw last week in that game against Clemson what he's capable of doing, but I think outside of that, they don't really have much leverage. I think there's a better rushing game in Florida that FSU with Trayshawn Ward. And I think that Florida State is going to it's going to be a close game up until halftime. And then I think Florida State is going to have more energy. It's a home game. It's a 2:30 game. It's going to be coming off of what's going on down in Florida with Hurricane Ian. So I think that is going to be sort of the lever they're playing for the state of Florida. And so they're going to use that momentum and that, all that passion they have for their home state and take them over Wake Forest.
Yeah, this game, I actually like this game. Too bad I probably won't be watching it because the Arkansas and Alabama game will be on the same time, so I'm gonna be.
And we're gonna talk about that later.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be focused on that game, but I wouldn't mind going back to watch this game if it's a close game in the end. So, but let's go to our next game. It's number 9 Oklahoma State. Oh wait, this is you. You can go ahead and take it, my bad.
Yeah. So we're now moving from ACC to Big 12, and
Yeah.
we have two top 25 teams going up against each other. Oklahoma State, the 9th-ranked team in the country, taking on Baylor, who's 16. Oklahoma State's undefeated. They just had their bye week, which I'm surprised, having a bye week this early in the season, but whatever Mike Gundy wants to do. Baylor just came off from beating Iowa State. As we know, they had their one loss to BYU early in the season. This is a game I think it's going to fly under the radar in terms of what we're seeing so far, in terms of what we're going to see on Saturday. If I can just pull my stats real quick.
Isn't this the rematch of the Big 12 championship?
Yes, this is where Baylor lost. Well, Baylor won because Oklahoma State went out of bounds at the 2-yard line, trying to score last second. So this is two pretty similar quarterbacks. We're seeing Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State, putting up about 900 yards with 10 touchdowns. Blake Shapen out of Baylor with 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. But I think, just like with Florida State, I think they're going to rely more on the run game. And I'm taking Baylor, by the way. I think that's going to be my They are a 2.5-point favorite in Waco, but there's no discrediting what I'm seeing so far out of Richard Reese, putting up 300 yards on the ground with 6 touchdowns, compared to what I'm seeing out of Dominic Richardson, who's 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I'm taking Baylor in this one. I think it's going to be kind of a blowout. Even though they are a 2.5-point favorite, I think it's going to be more than double digits. Well, not more than double digits, but it's going to be like, you know what I mean?
For me, for this game, this is a hard game to pick. This game will also be at 2:30 on, but it's going to be on Fox, and it's Oklahoma State has just looked good for the past few years, so it's hard not to pick them. So I'm gonna go Oklahoma State. I think they're gonna run it back and beat Baylor this year. Blake Shapen has looked good for Baylor, but Spencer Sanders and that high flying offense that Mike Gundy always has every year. I just think that's like how football's going this like in the future for the future. A high flying offense pass, but this game is really hard to pick just because they're it's an in conference game, top 20 teams in the country, and and it's the Big 12, so it's really no defense that's usually played in the Big 12.
Not at all.
And Oklahoma State's coming off a bye, so they should be fresh and ready to go. And Baylor's just coming off a tough win against Iowa State. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna go Oklahoma State. Yeah, my gut's going Oklahoma State, so I'm gonna go with my gut this time.
Well, we do finally have a split match with each other like we did last week.
Yeah. So this next game could be a trap game for Oklahoma, number 18 this week against TCU. It is an early morning game, 11 o'clock on ABC. Dylan Gabriel is 78 for 117, 1,089 yards, and 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, I'm guessing. And Max Duggan just coming off a big win in the Iron Skillet, the battle for the Iron Skillet. He's 47 for 61, 695 yards, and 8 touchdowns. This is a hard game to pick for me just because Oklahoma just lost to you would say, a lower team in the Big 12. And
yeah, they were unranked.
Yeah, and TCU is riding that Horned Frog this season to a big win against a longtime rival. Basically, I wouldn't say an in-city rival. It's more in like area.
Metro area.
Yeah, the metro area. It's about like a 40-minute drive away from each school. But this game, dang, I don't know what to pick. But I think I'm going to have to let my guy JP down and go with the favorite, the 6.5-point favorite with Oklahoma. I'm sorry, JP, but I have to do it, man.
Yeah, this one is a toss-up, but statistically looking, Dylan Gabriel is better than Max Duggan. Eric Gray is a better running back than Kendra Miller, and Marvin Mims, I think, is a better fielder than Darius Davis. All of those are stat leaders for both Oklahoma and TCU. I mean, this is a hard game. Oklahoma just coming off that loss. We had my rant about big game movement, so I'm glad for it. And TCU coming off being an undefeated team in the Big 12 and coming off of that rivalry win over SMU. ESPN has it right now as Oklahoma winning by 65%. I really don't know. I want to take TCU because I think momentum-wise they're on a better uphill than Oklahoma right now. I don't know what to do with this one. I mean, I know if this was live, I'd have to make a decision, but you know what? I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say TCU, last second field goal. Horned Frogs go 5-0. Oklahoma falls out of the top 25. Big game movement has an aneurysm.
Yeah. He's in BYU right now.
Do not let me down, JP. I am taking the Horned Frogs in this one.
Yeah, he's in Big Game Boomer. He's at BYU right now at their game, which is going on while we're recording. I'm pretty sure what was the update for that, Will? It was tied at halftime.
Right now it is 24-20 to BYU at the start of the third quarter.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So hey, it looks like we're we're starting to spread apart a little bit now. Will
Yeah,
I want to take TCU, but I just feel like Oklahoma, they're going to bounce back after last week. Most
I
teams
think
have done that, bounce back after a bad loss this year.
I think in terms of David versus the Goliath, in terms of our picks this week, I think this is going to be where TCU just takes the rock, slings it, and hits Brent Venables right in the forehead and
Yeah.
down goes the Giants.
And,
We now shift over
Down
to
go
our
crazy.
favorite conference, not the Sun Belt, Fun Belt, patent pending, by the way. Yeah, the SEC. Not the game you're thinking about, because we're going to go all in on that next, but we are going to another top 15 matchup. Seventh ranked Kentucky Wildcats traveling to Oxford to take on Ole Miss, who is ranked 14. This is the low-key, sneaky good game of the weekend, just because we didn't know how good these teams were going to be around this time.
Yeah.
Both were ranked in the low 20s at the start of the season. Kentucky is now a top 10 team. Ole Miss is a top 15 team. Both are undefeated. Kentucky already has that one conference win with Florida. Ole Miss. Last week both teams struggled last week with Power Six teams. Kentucky barely scraped by Northern Illinois. Ole Miss barely beat Tulsa. But Ole Miss is right now a 7-point favorite as the Cats come to Boston Stadium. But if we look statistically, quarterback-wise at least, Will Levis has 1,200 yards in 4 weeks, which means he's putting up 300 yards a game. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions against Jackson Dart's near 700 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I don't think it's really that big of a difference, quarterback-wise. Actually, it is a bit different, but everything else I think is going to be more
even.
Yeah. Well, ESPN has it as 78% taking Ole Miss, but I'm going to take Kentucky. Yes, Ole Miss has a better rusher in Judkins, but there's no stopping Will Levis right now. Like I think he's putting on a better performance in terms of SEC quarterbacks than Jackson Darton's transfer. So I'm going to take Kentucky plus 6.5 or plus 7. They're gonna win on like last 2 minutes of the game and leave Oxford being a 5-0 team and leaving Lane Kiffin with his first loss this season. So I'm taking Kentucky.
For me, this game is hard. I really don't think Jackson. I wouldn't say I don't like him. I don't know the guy, but really don't think Jackson Dart is as big as everyone made him up to be when he transferred to Ole Miss. We really hadn't seen much from him, and they just barely beat Tulsa. I know Kentucky barely beat Northern Illinois, but I don't know. Without Matt Corral, Ole Miss is not the same Ole Miss everyone thinks they would have been this year.
Yeah.
And Will Levis is just playing so well this year, even though he does have like 4 interceptions, but he has 10 touchdowns and he has almost 1,200 yards. So I'm gonna go Kentucky. I'm gonna ride the Kentucky train with you. The SEC East is looking really like dangerous compared to the past few years.
About that, 5 years ago, because we have Georgia, Kentucky, and Tennessee all fighting.
Yeah.
For that spot. But now that we've covered the East, we're going to talk about the West.
I have one more thing about the Ole Miss Kentucky game. Did you see the Lane Kiffin complaining about how the fans are leaving early at halftime, coming out? He said it's like a high school game.
Yep, and then we saw, Ole Miss students that kind of sparse last week against Tulsa. Yeah. I mean, I get that it was a 2:30 game and they're in direct sunlight, but,
Yeah, the game ended up being close. Like, what if y'all would have lost? Like,
exactly.
Then you're like, oh, bro, if the crowd was there, we would have won. Well, guess what? Y'all left early and you can't come back in the game. So, what's the point of leaving early if you're trying to have fun, go to football season? You know how great it has to be for you to have a ranked team in the top 25 and have a great coach who cares about the program, goes to all the other sports games, and you just leave in the middle at halftime of a game that wasn't even a blowout at the time. It was pretty like even at halftime, and you just leave, and that shows how much y'all care about y'all football team. And that's why I really don't like Ole Miss as a football program. I can't wait till we get our revenge against them later this season. But that was my little Ole Miss rant. Let me go to this Alabama Arkansas game, a game that me and Will have been dying to talk about basically all season. I've been waiting a whole year to get revenge. And I'm already gonna say Arkansas is winning this game. I'm taking my pick right now, but let me give y'all a review. This is a 2:30 game on CBS. Bryce Young versus KJ Jefferson. Two great quarterbacks in the SEC West. Probably, in my opinion, the two best quarterbacks in the SEC West. We got Bryce Young, 83 for 120, 1,029 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. KJ Jefferson, my guy, he's 70. I mean not 76, 67 and 97 with 941 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So KJ did have a bad game last game against Texas A&M, which we lost by 2 points from a missed field goal. But Alabama just came off bro, they donkey stomped Vandy 55-3. Will, how do you watch that entire game? Like, explain that to me. How do you watch an entire game of you just literally destroying a lowly SEC East team in Vanderbilt? Tell me.
It's fun.
It's fun?
Because that just means you get to see the next round of players come in. Because towards the end of that game, we saw Jalen Milroe come in for some of them, and at the very end, we saw Ty Simpson. He's supposed to be like a really good up and coming freshman, but it's always just about seeing the next in line. Like when I was a freshman at Bama and seeing Tua and Jalen come in, and after these big wins, we see Matt Jones come in. So it's always seeing like all these round of players come in because who's going to be the next torchbearer of Alabama. But you know who I'm going to roll with in this one. I'm taking Alabama. They are a 17-point favorite. ESPN has them as a 93% chance, even though this game is up in Fayetteville, and recently Alabama has struggled in away games, like we saw with Texas, and we saw 3 of 4 away games last year, the one especially in Mississippi State. We have not really done well on the ground. So to say, Jace McClellan, Royal Williams, I guess they've all done pretty well, but mostly our offense has been relying in the air. We're seeing big passes. Trajan Holmes, our leading receiver, 214 yards, 4 touchdowns. As long as Bill O'Brien doesn't screw this up for us, I think this is going to be somewhat of a comfy win. I know you hate hearing me say that, but I think Alabama gets the business done. The last away game against Texas was kind of a miscommunication, and my anger towards Bill O'Brien doesn't escalate this week, but it's Alabama away. It's been kind of a struggle, but I think this is where we get our act together and show like how we should be number one instead of Georgia. Because Georgia almost blew it to Kent State last week. I don't think we really discussed it that much, but it shows that they are immortal, and us seeing beat a top 25 team in this sort of manner. I know you're just like you're wanting to punch me right now. It's like back in middle school, whenever Arkansas lost, you would like try to strangle me in a room. Those are the days I long for, but it's Alabama. I got to take them, and see what's gonna happen. It's gonna be an exciting game.
For me, I think it's gonna be a shootout, honestly. Just because, last year was a great game. Came one touchdown